Book 1. Spiritual Jihad. Not many sounds in life, and I include all urban and rural sounds, exceed in interest a knock at the door. Charles Lamb. Chapter 1. Eid Mubarak, I said, passing a man scurrying down the street. Eid Mubarak, he replied, gasping for breath. I began my walk this morning expecting the usual bustle of business as the souk came alive. I'd forgotten it was the end of Ramadan, and the faithful had made their way to the mosques for their morning prayers. The few people I did see were hurrying, hoping not to miss this special occasion. The holiday made my trek easier, and except for a few cats and Indonesian laborers, the streets were abandoned. Weaving in and out of the alleyways, I had walked for about an hour when the doors of the mosques opened and a flood of worshippers filled the streets. No matter which way I turned, I felt like a fish swimming against the current. It was disconcerting as this wave of humanity came toward me. Part of my discomfort stemmed from my shorts, T-shirts, and pale white skin. However, aside from a few stares, I was left to myself. I decided to walk on the narrow sidewalks to avoid the masses. It was then that I observed, for me, an unusual sight. A small station wagon moving through the crowd came to a stop in the middle of the street, in front of a large mosque. I ducked under the shadow of an awning and watched. The driver opened his door and stepped around the car, greeting four other men with the traditional kisses on both cheeks. Their attire was distinctly different, and made them stand out among the throng. Each wore a long, pressed white robe with a gray vest. They sported beards and wore turbans on their heads. Colored by stereotypical images of Western media, my perceptions and suspicions gave life to my paranoia. These men looked like Taliban. That alone made my heart race with anxious anticipation and a tinge of fear. However, curiosity is powerful, and as they squeezed into the car and slowly made their way through the crowd, I followed. I was not looking to thwart some insidious terror plot, but wanted to know what these men could be about. As they wound their way through the crowd, they waved and shook hands with people who passed. Apparently, they were well known. No one in this community dared cross them, I surmised, for fear of reprisal. Yet trepidation was not what I saw. These men were recognized and respected as leaders, so I followed them. Their vehicle moved slowly at first, and it was difficult for me to look inconspicuous. The only shops open served tea, and 3 times I was asked if I would like to come in and have some. I imagined that they were suspicious of my intentions, and I moved away quickly. As I turned around, the cars sped off as the crowd thinned, and I couldn't keep pace. Before I knew it, they had disappeared around the corner. I was disappointed that my intrigue came to a sudden end, but not for long. When I looked up, I saw the most beautiful door across the street. It was a double door, made of wood, worn and weathered over the years. Each panel was engraved with intricate swirl patterns, and a large brass bolt ran the length of the top and bottom. Above the door frame, a lattice arch reached upward, pointing toward heaven, and framed a greeting inviting people in to read and discuss the Quran. It looked as if the participants on this special Eid were already inside, except for one young man. He walked up to the door and stopped. Looking furtively around, he started to enter and then stepped back. He took a deep breath, put his hand on the latch, pushed with determination, and stepped through the door. "Assalamu alaikum," he greeted someone at the door. "Wa alaikum salam," was the reply, and the door closed. Yusuf had never been to this gathering before, but he was greeted warmly as a brother of Islam. All were welcomed and encouraged to learn from the Imam. He was considered an expert on reading and expounding on the Quran. "Let us welcome our brother," the Imam said, and the other men extended a kind greeting to the stranger. "We are glad you are here. What brings you to our gathering?" Yusuf looked around the room, trying to ascertain whether these men were trustworthy. Surely he could trust them. They were brothers in faith. However, not all brothers were accepting, he thought. "My name is Yusuf, and I have doubts."